Okay, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith, and this video is about the fact that uh regardless of what the supposed apostle Paul in his letters claimed to be teaching, and I'll get to that in half a moment, Jesus of Nazareth flat out did not in any way, shape, or form teach justification or salvation by faith. In fact, he specifically rebuked that doctrine several times in the Gospels that I'll get to. Um, Paul famously said, "Whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." But what did Jesus say about that? Jesus actually said, and I quote, "Not everyone who saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but only he who doeth," present perfect progressive, "the will of the Father." That is works based salvation by Jesus, but it is nonsense simply faith based salvation, or not even faith based salvation, but false faith salvation by Paul. Paul is claiming that you're saved just because you claim you're saved. And then if you read James' epistle, I don't for the life of me understand why Jimmy Swagger can't see this. If you read James' epistle, James is clearly rebuking and correcting Paul and called Paul a vain man and told him that you cannot be saved by faith alone, that only good works can save you. As James said, even the devil has faith and believes in God, and he's not saved. Another example where Jesus preemptively rebuked Pauline doctrine. Jesus gave a parable of a tree, and he said, uh, "Every tree which does not bring forth good fruit is cut down and cast into the fire." So he said, "A good tree brings forth good fruit, and a corrupt tree brings forth corrupt fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth corrupt fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree which does not bring forth good fruit is cut down and cast into the fire." And that agrees with Ezekiel's doctrine and Isaiah's doctrine, by the way, but it does not agree with Pauline doctrine, because Pauline doctrine is claiming that you can be saved regardless of whether or not you have good works. He said that you can be saved without the works of the law, which is preposterous, simply because you claim to be saved. He also claimed that the law was done away with, Paul did, and Jesus said the opposite of that. Jesus said, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law. I came not to destroy the law, but rather to fulfill the law." And then he said, "Until heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or tittle shall in any wise pass away from the law until all things are fulfilled." So once again, Jesus clearly, preemptively contradicted the Pauline doctrine, which claims that Jesus did away with the law. So how do Christians reconcile this when it's pretty obvious that all of the New Testament authors except James are continually contradicting what Jesus said in the Gospels, including Peter, because Peter actually quoted and canonized Paul and thought Paul was the best thing since sliced bread, and Paul was sitting there telling you nonsense. If you've got a good English translation Bible, open to Ezekiel 3:18 and read the next 3 or 4 verses, I believe. And I'll paraphrase, but it says that if he's God talking to the prophet, and he says, "If a good person turns away from their goodness and does evil, and you don't warn him that he turned back from his evil to good, he shall die in his sin, but his blood shall I require at your hand." In other words, both of you are going to hell if you don't warn him. You're not saved just because you used to be saved. You're not saved because you claim to be saved. You're saved if you do good works, according to Ezekiel. Go to Isaiah chapter 1, verse, I think, 15 or thereabout. And it tells you that God doesn't want a sacrifice for sin. So the notion that Jesus dying on the cross saves you from sin is actually a lie. And that's a supposedly core Christian doctrine. That's supposedly what Christianity is all about. It tells you in Isaiah chapter 1 that God not only does not want a sacrifice, but that he hates sacrifices, that he wants good works, and for you to plead the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and that's how you're saved. He said that he did not want a sacrifice. that he hated sacrifices, is what God told Isaiah in the first chapter of Isaiah. And Christians are all big about misquoting Isaiah to claim that salvation comes by faith. And he opened the book by telling you, no, it does not come by faith, and no, it does not come by sacrifice. It comes by good works. Turn to Samuel. Obedience is greater than sacrifice, and to acknowledge him that is God is greater than all whole burnt offerings. Obedience is greater than sacrifice, and to acknowledge him is greater than all whole burnt offerings. So if you are teaching a doctrine of justification by faith, you are a false teacher, because James said it doesn't work that way. Jesus said it does not work that way. And at least 3 of the Old Testament prophets said it does not work that way. That sacrifices and faith cannot and do not save you. A person who does good works is good and goes to heaven, and a person who does evil works is evil and goes to hell. Period. Regardless of what they claim to believe, and you can burn all the bulls and goats and believe in 10 messiahs, and you are not saved if you are not good.